All right, today we're going to crack open the books on a true giant, one of Japan's most iconic companies, Mitsubishi Corporation. So they just dropped their latest financial report, and there's this one number, this bombshell, that honestly, on the surface, looks like an absolute catastrophe. But is that what's really going on? Let's dig in and find out.
And here it is. This is the number that was plastered all over the headlines, a 42.7% drop in profit just for the first quarter. I mean, a number that big and that negative, you got to ask, what is going on here? It really demands an explanation.
So this is the question on everyone's mind, right? You see a profit plunge like that, and your first thought is disaster. Is Mitsubishi actually in crisis? Or is there something else hiding just beneath that scary headline? We're going to need to look into the source documents to see what's what.
Okay, so first things first, let's get a really clear picture of what the company actually reported. Forget the percentage for just a second. What do the raw numbers look like?
So if you look at the raw numbers, last year in this exact same quarter, their profit was over 354 billion yen. Pretty good, right? Well, this year, it's cratered down to just 203 billion. That's a fall of more than 150 billion yen in just 1 year. So yeah, the question is staring us right in the face. What on earth happened? To figure that out, we have to put on our financial detective hats. It means we gotta go way beyond that headline number and start peeling back the layers of their financial statements. And funny enough, the company itself gives us the very first clue. Okay, so this table is pulled straight from their official report. It looks a little dense, a lot of corporate jargon, but just focus your eyes on that highlighted line, gain/loss on asset sales. The change is a negative 147.5 billion yen. And the reason they give? A rebound from large asset sale last year. That's our key. But what does that even mean in plain English? Well, here it is. This is the real story. Last year's massive profit, it wasn't from their normal day-to-day business. It was artificially juiced up by a huge one-time sale of an Australian coal business. This year's profit, that's just what the company earns without that giant one-off injection of cash. So the drop isn't some sign of failure. It's really just a return to business as usual. This whole situation is a textbook example of a financial concept called the base effect. It's kind of like a statistical illusion, really. See, because last year's number, the base we're comparing against, was so unusually, artificially high, this year's perfectly normal profit looks like a dramatic freefall. So the headline wasn't technically wrong, but wow, was it missing the most important piece of context. Okay, now this is where the plot really thickens. If the base effect explains away that big profit drop, what do the company's actions tell us? I mean, if they were really in some kind of crisis, you'd expect them to pull back, to be cautious. But they're doing the absolute opposite. So let's just remember this number. 203 billion yen. This is the so-called disappointing profit that set off all the alarm bells. The number that's down 42.7% from last year's weirdly high profit. Got it? Okay, keep that in your head. Now, check this out. In the very same report that announced that bad profit number, Mitsubishi also announced they are increasing their annual dividend to 110 yen per share. Hold on. Profits are down, but they're planning to pay their shareholders more money? That just doesn't add up, or does it? So why would a company do that? Why raise the dividend? It is one of the most powerful signals management can send. It basically screams to the market, we are super confident about our future profits, and we expect a ton of stable cash coming in. It's a public promise. Mitsubishi even has a name for it, a progressive dividends policy. So for them to raise it now, that's a huge vote of confidence. But believe it or not, that's not even the biggest move they made. This right here is the final, absolutely jaw-dropping piece of the puzzle that completely flips that crisis story on its head. This is one of the most aggressive, most confident moves a company can possibly make. This is a direct quote from their official announcement. That Japanese text, it says, "Ichichoyen wo jogen tesuru." And what does that mean? It means a cap, a limit of 1 trillion yen.
1 trillion yen. Let that sink in for a second. A 1 with 12 zeros after it. That is the jaw-dropping amount of money that Mitsubishi's board has said, yep, go ahead and use this to buy back our own stock. This isn't just some small gesture, folks. This is a monumental, all-in bet on their own future. So how does a buyback even work? Well, it's pretty simple. The company takes its cash and goes out into the open market to buy up its own shares. This reduces the number of shares floating around out there, and that does two big things. First, it automatically boosts the earnings per share for everyone who still holds the stock. And second, maybe more importantly, it's the loudest possible signal management can send that they think their stock is a bargain, that it's undervalued. They are literally putting their money, a trillion yen, where their mouth is.
So let's put all these pieces of the puzzle together. We started this whole thing with a really scary-looking headline, but by digging just a little bit deeper into the documents, what we've actually uncovered is a completely different story. So our trail of evidence here started with that scary headline, right? A profit drop that looked like a 5-alarm fire. But then we found the context. It was all just an illusion created by that base effect. And then we saw the company's actions. First, they raised their dividend. And then they dropped the mic with a jaw-dropping 1 trillion yen buyback. The real story isn't crisis. It's confidence. Deep, long-term confidence. So, in the end, it's pretty clear. The headline told a story about falling profits. But the reality, the actual story, once you have the context and see the company's actions, is one of rising confidence. That number, 42.7%, was technically correct, but the story it told was completely, 100% wrong. And it just leaves us with this one powerful question to think about. When is a 43% profit drop actually a sign of incredible strength? Well, it's when that drop is just an illusion, asking a company so confident in its own future that it's willing to bet 1 trillion yen on itself. It's a great reminder to always, always look behind the headline.